Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Priyanka Keswani. Hi Priyanka, welcome back.
Hello, Vasco.
So Priyanka, this Thursday is about success, but before we dive into that, we do want to talk about the tool that we as Scrum Masters very often use to help us reach that success, which is of course the retrospective. So share with us, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Definitely, as you mentioned, retrospectives are really, really important. And also, I mean, when I coach, train anyone, I say retrospective is not just part of a Scrum. Everywhere we should apply the retrospective. And what is my favorite format of retrospective? It depends. I mean, when I start with the new team who is transitioning from the waterfall to the agile way, I generally prefer the classic way of retrospective. What went well, what didn't go well, and how we can improve. Also, one aspect is I would like to share that most of the time, and many Scrum Masters can relate also, retrospective ends only focus on the processes. But I would like to say retrospective is not just the processes, it's more process, people, tools, techniques, product, because we have to improve on all the aspects. And my favorite retrospective format is Sailboat. It's because you know, right, the team is on the sailboat, we have to reach the goal. I mean, there is a win, icebergs, wins definitely helps to move forward, but there are the blockers. So in short, I would say that the sailboat exercise definitely helps the teams, I mean, where they want to go, by identifying what slows them down and what helps them to achieve their objectives. And it, I mean, when the team visualizes that, and as it becomes the pictorial way of retrospectives, they can easily relate and contribute. Also, my one suggestion to all Scrum Masters: don't stick to the one format of retrospective. Try to come up with the innovative way, explore the different ways to run the retrospective meetings that definitely energize and motivates the teams, as change is the only constant. I believe so.
Absolutely, the Sailboat retrospective can help teams that are perhaps already familiar with the whole concept and the nature of retrospectives. But as you said, one important thing is that not all teams will be at that point, right? Some teams are still maybe resisting or not really convinced that retrospectives are a good thing for them. And for those teams, maybe focusing on something very concrete, very specific, even perhaps even only process, whatever that might be, with the classic format, that might be a great way to get them familiar with the retrospective, having that conversation, talking about improvements, taking up some improvements, and then later on go into retrospectives like the Sailboat, which is a lot more, potentially a lot more in depth and can touch on a lot more topics than just process, right?
Definitely. And the pictorial view, the team can easily relate the stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. Metaphors, retrospectives like the Sailboat are extremely powerful. In the right teams, it can also help create a lot more insightful conversations because of that pictorial depiction. So, Priyanka, thank you for sharing that. Now we turn our attention to ourselves, Scrum Masters, and why we do this, right? Which is to reach success, to reach a successful outcome for our work. So, Priyanka, share with us, how do you define success for yourself as a Scrum Master?
sure, definitely. It's a really a big question, right? And for every Scrum Master, success looks different. And it definitely depends on the teams you're working with. So I would like to share, before I mention what success looks like for me as a Scrum Master. I was working with one team where for them Agile was just a process. For each and everything they wanted a process. Collaborate with each other. They used to come and ask me, what is the process? If I have a dependency on the other team, I mean, the developer or the team member will ask, what is the process to talk to that team? What is the process, how to raise the dependencies? And also, I mean, as we say, stakeholder management is the PO's responsibility, right? So if we had to communicate with anyone else, like in DSM, we said, okay, we need this information or this clarification from the stakeholders. Team used to say that, okay, stakeholder communication information, it's just the PO's responsibility. The PO will take care. For them everything was a process, and then for such team, definitely as a scrum master, my success criteria when I can inspire that team to shift from doing agile to being agile and to focus on the people aspect rather than the process aspect, because for me agile is not the process, it's more and more on the people. When my team or the individuals inhibit the nature or the culture of an being agile, right? Because we have to collaborate, we have to make happy customer, we need really empowered employees, right? And the motivated employees or the team members, where I feel my team is really feeling psychological safety. They are open, they are quite open to share or express their views, because in most of the time teams don't open it up in the retrospective because of psychological safety issue. But when as a scrum master I make them and enable them, we have a psychological safety, you're free to share or express their views. That is the success for me as a scrum master. And to achieve this you have to do a lot. I mean, there are many practices you have to bring to achieve to that level of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really like the story of the team that was focusing on process because of what you said later on. But let's start first with that story. And you described that as the team, in that context, the team was coming to you asking for a process for everything, right? Like we need to communicate with someone. Okay, great. So tell me the process. Why do you think that team was at that stage? Like, what was preventing the team from understanding what you talked about later? That shifting from doing to being, focusing on people, and so on. What was holding the team back?
So I would share here one of the aspect is, do you believe, I mean, any transformation, any initiative, culture plays a very big role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was like, the more on the aspect of culture, because every time no one wanted to talk to each other. It was like, okay, this is my stuff, I will only do my stuff. So it was like, as I mentioned, right, product owner is accountable, product owner will do it, I won't do it. So there was a resistance and no one wanted to come out and work as a team, or they don't want it to be a self organized. Everyone is following, sprint planning is happening, DSM is happening, but only focused on their aspect. So that was more coming from the culture. And as we say, right, culture changes, it takes time to change, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that you then followed up with is this need of shifting from doing to being, was the way you described it, and focusing on the people aspect. Now, I understand this might also be linked to the culture discussion you were just pointing to. But for us, Scrum Masters who want to be successful, we need to translate this into something very concrete. So, one example is what you already said, which is, instead of asking for a process, come together and figure out how to solve it together, right? Like, talk to the product owner. Don't expect them to come to you when they are ready. Ask them for what you need. That would be one example. But you then mentioned focusing on the people aspect. What do you mean by that?
So more on the interaction and the collaboration is really important. Process is just one aspect, right? If I have a dependency on the other team, I should not wait for the process, right? I have dependency on someone. I know who can help me, who can resolve that. Please go ahead and talk, collaborate. And that's the first agile manifesto, right? Individual interaction over the processes and the tools. That really helps. And the team later realize it's faster, it helps you for the faster delivery, there are no delays, there is no waste, there is no wait. And then it takes time also. And that is how they started discussing, interacting. As we say, retrospective, right, there was a trust issue, I mean, there is a trust issue. Then we started with the anonymous retrospective. At least people will open up, they will share, because trust is not the thing which will be built in a one day. If the team members are coming from the different teams, different places, it takes time. So start with the anonymous way. We also introduce the mood board, because we as a Scrum Master wanted to know how individual is feeling. Are they happy to be part of the team, or they are not happy? What is their feeling? And sometimes using emojis, it's really easy to express our feeling, maybe rather than just speaking. So that was the aspects on the people side, how we have to focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And having those kinds of tools in our toolbox, like the mood board, definitely help us to see how the team feels. And of course, the better they feel, the more successful we are as Scrum Masters. Great story. Thank you for sharing that, Priyanka.
Thank you. Thanks, Vasco. Welcome.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.